Right, welcome back to the channel. Video I've been meaning to do for quite a while is a review on some of my camping gear, and starting off I'm going to be doing a review on my different alcohol stoves, or meth stoves as the case may be. I'll take you through a brief overview of what I brought and in what order I brought them, give you some of the stats on them after that, and then what I'm planning to do is do some boil tests on each one so we can see the efficiency. I'll put links in the description and also give you the costs, for what you'd be expected to pay for each one as well. I'll do that later on in the video. So without further ado, the first one that I started with, which I've owned now for 10, 12 years, something like that, and it's still going strong, is the Swedish Army trangia. A lot of you will be aware of this one. Comes with a little base, little fold-up arms. That's what the pot rests in, just folds up on the inside. And then in here, if you open it up, is the original trangia, which I had built like a tank, thick brass. What I did with this was I just cut the top off a beer can years ago and used that just to snuff the flames out when I'm using it. The idea is that it's still got fluid in after all these years. Sits in there, and then your pan sits in the top. Or what you can do, if you're cooking, pop that in there, and then that can go on the top of there so that you can keep stuff warm while you're cooking. So that's the first one I ever brought. It's the heaviest one. This is the aluminium version. They do a steel version as well, which is heavier but obviously a lot stronger. This is the alloy version. It takes up quite a bit of room, but even though I haven't used it in, I'll be honest with you, absolute years, it is still a cracking bit of kit. So that's the first one that I purchased, and all of them are very, very similar to this. It's a lot bigger than the other ones that you purchase, but it is built like a tank. Second one that I purchased, this is the actual cook system, and then with this, let me get it together, you've got your little pan, comes with it, and this is made by a company called Yellowstone. Got this off Amazon. Comes in a little carry bag inside, and then the idea with this one is your meths stove, if we can get it together, and I've got to remember how we do it. That sits in there, just locks on. Your little meths stove then goes in that opening in there, sits on the top. That's your cooker, so you can pop your pans and so forth on it. So that was the second one I brought. A little bit wobbly because we're out in the garden at the moment. Third one, I've used this one loads. This is just a kettle, but it is more than an actual kettle. If you take this out, again, exactly the same stove as the one that was with the Yellowstone. Little feet fold out. That folds up. And then your kettle, or pans, or whatever you want, sits on the top, which again is a cracking little piece of kit. So that was the third one I brought, and that's probably the one that I've used the most of over the years. The next one, which I purchased, was just a little stand, and then with this clamps together. That's your feet. Your meths burner then sits in the top, like so, and then this is just steel. You can get them in lighter weights than that, and just sits in there. And then obviously you've got your room then, simple, but it also came with a wind guard, folds around it just to keep the wind off when you're using it. So that was another one. Always looking for lightweight stuff. And then the next one that I brought after that was this one. This is really, really lightweight, and the idea with this one is it literally just sits very, very similar. This little thing goes together, sits in there. Now, thing is with this one, it hasn't got a lid, so you've got to snuff it out and put your fluid back in the bottle. All the others have got lids on them, so when you're finished with them you can put the lid on, and obviously you could use it later on. But that is titanium. See how it's got like the bluish patina to it when it burns? So that's really, really, that weighs nothing. Chuck that in a bag, and again, got your little stand for going on the top. So that's the only titanium bit of kit that I've got. I also brought, from car boot this was, I think it was, one of the actual trangia systems. I'll be honest with you, I've never actually used this. And it comes with everything. You've got frying pan, kettle, 2 pans. So that locks on there. And again, your little mass burner sits inside there, which goes inside, just goes in the hole that's inside there. And then the idea is, obviously you've got room to put your pans, fold them back in, put your pans on them, and it's got a little handle. I brought this for when we were family camping, but it's one that I've never ever used, but it's there just in case we ever need to go out as a family for the day and we need to take a meth stove with us. And then the last one that I brought, which I've only used once, I've only actually boiled something once with this, which I found was the most interesting. This has got a little pot stand, same as the others. This is the actual meth burner, and this has like a carbon felt inside it that you impregnate with your alcohol, with your meths, whatever you're using. And the idea with this is, obviously that sits in there, and then you've got your pan for cooking. Again, it came with a little lightweight wind guard. But the idea with this, which is really clever, if you're inside a tent, obviously like a Polish Lviv, I wouldn't use any of these in any other tent other than like a canvas tent where I've got room, is that if this tips up, the liquid, unlike these, won't come spilling out all over the floor, and obviously alcohol burns clear, so you could set yourself on fire and not know that you're setting yourself on fire. But with these ones, it obviously impregnates with the alcohol, which means it's far, far safer to use. This is the one that I'm going to be using a lot of this year, which is great for when you're walking. The weight on it is nothing, it's only aluminium. Also, you can put alcohol or gel in there, you can put that on, and you can also cook on there. So if you've got like a hexamine block or a gel based fuel, you can put it in the lid. Obviously it's going to evaporate with the lid on it, but out of all of them, it's supposed to be the safest. Got this off Amazon, even though I believe it's no longer for sale, which is such a shame because it's a cracking piece of kit. And that weighs nothing. If you could feel it, it absolutely weighs nothing. What I will do in the description, I will list all the items, where I got them from, the cost and the weight of each individual one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the camera over, because I don't want to be cooking stuff on a glass table in my garden, and we're going to try boiling up the same amount of water on each one. I'm going to time it and report back to you, and then we'll do a final overview on the cook systems. What we'll do is we're going to start off with the Swedish trangia. I'm just going to put an adequate amount of fuel in using my fuel bottle, my safety fuel bottle. It's got a pusher letting the fuel out and obviously won't leak. So I'm just going to put enough in to what I judge will be enough to boil the water, and I'm going to use the same pan for each one. I'm going to time it, obviously not film, I'll film the whole thing but only show you the start and the end of each one to show that it's boiling. I'm going to use the same pan, just obviously different cooker, using the different cook systems to see how they behave. So that in each one we will boil 400 ml, so that we've got enough for a brew, a big mug of coffee, shall we say. We're in. Now obviously it's a warm evening, there's no wind, so it is ideal conditions. As you probably know with alcohol stoves, you've got to let them bloom to come up to speed, but we'll start that off and we'll get the timer going. Right, the Swedish trangia started to bloom. If you can actually see the flames in there. This is just with the GoPro. We are on 4 minutes 27 seconds. Right, Swedish Army trangia is more or less coming to a rolling boil now. As you can see, plenty of bubbles in there, and we are at 15 minutes. 15 minutes. So 15 minutes on the Swedish Army trangia. Now obviously if I got a lid on, it would affect it. And then on each of the cookers, as you can see, there's still plenty of fuel left in there. I didn't fill it all the way to the top. So my little snuff thing that I made, put that on. Right, she's out now. Right, the next one that we're setting up is the one that was my little kettle with a stand, and these are the generic little mats burners that you can buy all over Amazon, because obviously irrespective of what you put in, it'll be more or less the same. I fully appreciate that the height from the top of the burner to your pot will make a subtle difference, and as I said, if you've got a lid on your pot, so this has gone cool again now. So we'll put another 400 ml in, as before. So 400 ml. Light the stove. We're in. Timer. Start. Stove. On. Right, one thing I have noticed with this little one, you can see it blooms a lot quicker and a lot better than the Swedish trangia. We are literally almost on a rolling boil, and we're just at like literally 7 minutes, which is half the time from the Swedish trangia. As I said, you point out the difference, the fact that the height from your flame, because if you remember your days at school with your Bunsen burner, you want to get the object that you're heating just at the apex of the flame on the top. We are literally on a rolling boil already on that one, which is, you can see why I like to use this stove. It's a cracking little stove, and with that kettle on the top with the lid on, it'll boil even quicker. Flames come out a lot more around the edge. You've got to be careful, obviously, your handle. But we're almost there. Right, I would say that that's now on a rolling boil. That's 8 minutes for that one. That is pretty spectacular. 8 minutes, 400 ml, and that is boiling away quite nicely. And then obviously the beauty of these ones is, compared to the other one, you've got a little cover so that you can simmer, which I've never used yet. Obviously you've got your cover for putting your stove out. Right, now we're going to be using the titanium stove. I'm going to use the little wind guard that come with it, even though there's virtually no breeze at all. And then this, you just need to find a flat base. And this is another reason I don't particularly like this one. It's because it's not as stable, but we'll give it a go. I've only used this once before, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't find it that good. I didn't find it that efficient, and I found that it bloomed different, should we say, than the other stoves that I use. Let's just zoom in a little bit. And let's get that lit. Well, first of all, let's get the water in, 400 ml. And this is all cold tap water, just pure water. I have put cold water in the pot first to cool it down. So, at the timer ready, get this lit. Right, we're in. Start. Get the pot on. Get it as central as we can. Bit unwieldy. Don't like the idea of that in a tent. But if you're out hiking and you need something for a quick brew, ideal. Right, the titanium one is blooming really well. Better than I remembered. We are on just coming up to 5 minutes and it's starting to steam, so not as good as the other. As you can tell, it's blooming really well. It's blooming ace. Right, we are coming up to a rolling boil now. We're not far off. And we're on 6 minutes 40 seconds. That is, I'm going by the point at which I'd be happy to make a cup of coffee with it. I would definitely happy to make a cup of coffee, and that's 6 minutes 55 seconds on that. Now with this one, because obviously the way it is, what you have to do is take this off, and this is the dangerous thing. You've literally got to take the lid off without burning yourself to death. Normally a pair of pliers perhaps would be better. As you can tell, it's not the safest of cookers. Then, with it having the holes around the edge, it's very difficult to snuff out. It's out, finally. So yeah, that's why I don't always like using that one. Okay, the next one is just using the standard mass burner with the little stand on it. We'll add a little bit more mats in. Now, obviously if it's cold, different temperatures, different air pressures and so on will affect how these things work. Fully appreciate that. I'm trying to cut as many variables out as possible, but it gives you an idea on how they burn, how they behave, and what would be best for you in the field. Lit and on. Again, a bit precarious compared to some of them, but if you're out hiking and you just want a brew, nice and easy to carry. Right, we're just starting to come to the rolling boil now. As I say, this is when I look in the pot normally when I'm camping and I think, yeah, coffee time. But we're just coming to rolling boil now, and it is 12 minutes and 20 seconds. And that's that one done. And again, normally if you had a pair of pliers or something, you could knock this lid off a bit easier, but we'll snuff that and then we'll move on to the last one. Right, now the last one is the one that I said to you got the pad in, so that it's like a deactivated charcoal fibre, or some kind of glass fibre maybe inside it. So you've got to make sure it's soaked enough till it starts to run out and it soaks the fuel up. That's pretty well soaked. You probably wouldn't put that much in normally. So let's get this one lit, make sure we're as level as we can be. So as you can see, that lights and blooms really quickly. Pot on, start. I don't really need to use my wind guard because now, the evening, that's my weather station on top of the Gadget shed, and there's no wind at all. Right, we're on a rolling boil. We are in 8 minutes. And we'll call this the fibre stove. And that's 8 minutes. So, as I said to you earlier, these are supposed to be really safe. So, let's test it. Because it's on the grass. Make sure I move my phone. Don't want to mount my phone, especially when I'm having my S20 Ultra delivered on Monday. So let's just tip this over. So if we were in a tent and we knocked it over, normally fuel would come pouring out. So let's just see what happens. Nope. It's burnt the grass a bit, but it doesn't. That's actually put it out. So tent wise, obviously it's burnt the grass because it's hot, but tent wise, that is, out of all the stoves, the safest one that I own. So, not the most scientific of tests, I know that. I've tried to keep it reasonably accurate for you to give you an idea. So, in reverse order of the success rate, the Swedish trangia, and I wasn't using the pot, I was using the same pot for each one. That took 15 minutes to boil the water, 400 ml of water. Then, the brass one, using its own little stand, which wasn't the most stable of cookers, took 12 minutes 20 seconds, but easy to use when you're out hiking. Then my little kettle one, which I normally use with the kettle that you saw at the start, that one and the one that used the fibre fill, they both boiled the water in 8 minutes. Okay, the winner was the titanium. I've only used it once before. It bloomed really quickly. The titanium took 6 minutes 55 seconds to boil. He says getting maths on his hands. Good job there's no lights around here. That took 6 minutes 55. That is really fast. It bloomed really quickly, and I think more than anything else it's because it's got the extra set of holes around the edge, so you've got 2 times the flame for boiling your water. I'll be honest with you, still my favourite is this new one. It's very weak. It's just like, I suppose you could make your own if you had a shoe polish tin, because that's what it looks like, a shoe polish tin at the end of the day. And then if you got some carbon, or you know, like, not, I was going to say asbestos, we're not going to use asbestos nowadays, but if you use some kind of glass fibre fill and put it in, I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's black, doesn't leave a mark. If you filled it with that, you could make your own. It only cost about £12, something like that, I think. But I'll be honest with you, if you're going out for a hike or a quick boil of water, that is my favourite. If I was going out camping overnight or a couple of nights, I would probably carry on using that one, because I've got my kettle, it fits inside the kettle, an extra pan, so all I need is a pan, my kettle for boiling my water, making a brew. I'm kitted, so something like that for me is ideal. If I was going out for a hike for a day, or I wanted a backup or anything, I would use this new one. I will put links to every single one. On the links I'll put the weight of each item for you, even though, as I said, this weighs nothing. It's probably on par with the titanium one at the end of the day. That weighs nothing. This is obviously the heaviest, but I've had that years, and as you can tell, it's still the same as when I bought it. Brilliant. So yeah, I've been meaning to do a test like this for a while, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. My next one, I'm going to do one on my wood burning, my wood gas stoves, or hobo stoves as they're called. So if you did enjoy this, if hopefully it was informative for you, please give me a thumbs up, that'd be great. As always, thank you very much for all my new subscribers, it's really appreciated. We are getting up to the magic 1k, which has been my goal. It has taken almost 3 years, but I am getting there due to your support, which I really do appreciate. And then obviously until next time, especially during these difficult times, all I can say to you is please stay safe, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.